The opinions expressed by the host and guest on this program are solely their own and do not represent the views or opinions of Blind United. We strive to provide diverse perspectives and discussions on our platform, but the opinions expressed should be understood as personal viewpoints and not reflective of Blind United as an organization.
It's time. It's time for
coffee time.
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 And here is your Coffee Time crew.
Well, good Tuesday morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee Time with Blind United. So today in the crew, we got Miss Brittany. Good morning, Britt.
Good morning.
And then we got Miss Carol. Good morning, Carol.
Good morning, everyone.
And my brother Pedro's back with us today. Good morning, Pedro.
What up, everybody?
All right. So as far as interest groups are concerned, tonight is Ladies' Night. So we got a couple groups designed just for the ladies. First, we have makeup application and skincare with Miss Aletha Donaldson. That will be at 5 p.m. Pacific time. She's in the Carolinas, so for her it'll be 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then right behind that we have she been doing her thing with the ladies as far as they say. I'll come out, check them out, all the ladies, celebrate the ladies and women's awareness month, celebrate women all this month, right? So come on out and hang out with them and hey, have some fun. So other than that, it's Tuesday, y'all. Taco Tuesday, Molly Tuesday, whatever Tuesday you want to call it. We good. Everybody good today? Everybody's morning good?
Yep. Let's call it Juicy Tuesday.
Juicy Tuesday. Okay, well.
Get yourself a Jamba Juice, a shake, something juicy.
Okay, well.
Or Tex-Mex Tuesday.
Ooh.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, that's taco and tamale, so I guess it's the same thing.
Well, but again, I don't know for sure. I know I hear that Tex-Mex is a little bit different flavoring, seasoning, whatever than what we do out here anyway.
Yes.
So
it's not authentic, as they say.
Well, we'll find out one day soon, I hope. Anyway, we got a few different articles for you today. The first one here has to do with the Supreme Court is now hearing a very controversial topic. So anyway, let's jump into that one, and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
Hey, Coffee Time crew. The Supreme Court is once again stepping into a deeply controversial space, this time to decide whether licensed therapists have a constitutional right to offer anti-LGBTQ conversion therapy to minors. The case, Chiles versus Salazar, challenges Colorado's ban on the discredited practice, and the outcome could reshape how states regulate professional conduct in the name of free speech. What's this case about? At the heart of Chiles versus Salazar is a Colorado law that prohibits licensed mental health professionals from attempting to change a minor's sexual orientation or gender identity through counseling or similar treatments. The law does not apply to religious ministry, making it clear that its focus is on licensed, professional therapy, not religious preaching. Colorado is not alone. According to a 2023 dissent by Justice Samuel Alito, 20 states and Washington, D.C. have passed similar laws. These efforts are backed by overwhelming consensus among professional health organizations. The American Psychological Association has explicitly stated that conversion therapy is ineffective and harmful, putting individuals at significant risk of harm. The First Amendment argument. Supporters of conversion therapy claim that the First Amendment protects their right to speak freely, even if that speech comes in the form of therapy. They argue that laws banning conversion therapy amount to censorship of professional speech. But here's where it gets tricky. The First Amendment doesn't protect malpractice or harmful advice, even if that advice is verbal. For example, a doctor can't dodge consequences by claiming free speech if they tell a patient to drink poison. Similarly, a lawyer can't claim First Amendment protection for encouraging illegal acts. The NIFLA precedent. A 2018 Supreme Court decision, NIFLA v. Becerra, will play a major role in this case. That ruling found that professional speech is still protected by the First Amendment, which may support conversion therapy advocates. But the court also clarified that states can regulate professional conduct, even if it involves speech, especially when the goal is to protect patients and maintain ethical standards. Why this case matters. If the Supreme Court strikes down Colorado's law, it could severely limit a state's ability to regulate professional conduct, particularly in healthcare and counseling. The implications go far beyond LGBTQ issues. What's next? Doctors pushing fake COVID-19 cures, or therapists promoting unproven, harmful treatments, all under the banner of free speech. This isn't just about whether conversion therapy should be legal. It's about whether states can continue to uphold standards of care in professions where bad advice can do real, lasting damage. What's at stake for LGBTQ youth? Let's not lose sight of the human impact. Conversion therapy has been widely discredited, not just for being ineffective, but for the deep psychological harm it causes, especially to young people struggling with their identity. This case could determine whether youth in vulnerable moments are protected from practices that professional organizations agree should not exist in modern therapy. What do you think? Should licensed therapists be allowed to offer conversion therapy under the First Amendment? How should we balance free speech rights with the need to prevent professional harm? And what responsibility do states have in protecting minors from outdated and dangerous treatments? Join the conversation and share your thoughts. Now back to the coffee time crew.
All right. Well, this is a deep one. So, I mean, my, first thing is, number one, this therapy has been around for well over a decade that I know of, right? And again, it doesn't really work. I mean, it causes more harm than good. It drives, young people, especially young people, I would say, to do things, that they may possibly harm themselves, right? So I'm not going to get behind anything that may cause somebody to harm themselves, Number two, I mean, even though they brushed over it, if you're taking this away from, making it where you cannot do this conversion therapy thing, even though, they're pointing their fingers at licensed practitioners, understand that, where they brought the church into and say they're not dealing with the church on this, but they say preaching. Well, a lot of people don't realize churches do counseling sessions. And within those counseling sessions, that in my book, that's not preaching. That's actually a counseling session. A lot of these churches, I think they were probably some of the first ones to start trying to do this conversion stuff, right? And I mean, I don't know. I mean, for me, it's wrong because you're trying to teach somebody to lie to themselves. They know who they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, for you to sit there and tell them that they're not who they are, you're trying to tell them to lie to themselves. And I just don't think that's right. So, I mean, I think they need to ban the practice across the board, myself personally, if somebody wants to go and seek it on their own, then that's their business, right? But to subject a child, let's say I'm a parent and my son or my daughter says they're gay or whatever, and oh no, we can't have that. No, let me get you into therapy so we can fix this. No, that's wrong. I
I
believe that's
agree.
wrong. I believe that's wrong. So,
I
uh,
agree.
well, speak your mind on this one, Carol, because I know touches home for you.
It is. Full disclosure, this is only on Carol. I'm lesbian. I've been lesbian my whole life. And I remember, I'm 60 years old now, but I remember as a child when I told my mom I did not like boys, I like girls. She was a Baptist church member and she took me to church. And the pastor put an olive oil cross on me and they tried to pray a demon out of me. Now, I've never changed. I have nothing against men. I've never had been raped or anything happened to me through men. I was like that as a child. I believe I was born that way. And I don't think it's a disability. But that's just what happened to me. Now, the church does try to change your mind, and try to pull you to the right side, as they say. But for me, I never changed. I'm who I am. And it's a touchy subject because if a child feels that that is what they are, you shouldn't try to change who they are. But,
I agree.
that's just my opinion. My person. There are some people, may have had some things happen and they may have changed, but as a youth, it's just not acceptable to say this or they want you and they see it. I believe parents see it. I used to, when I was visual, could see certain things in my little cousin or some of my friends' children, ooh, he's, as they would call a little sissy, and you would pray they would hope to grow out of it, but if that's who they were, that's who they were. So i
Right.
I don't agree with someone trying to change someone's life based on what they think they should live their life as. It's and a lot of people live in secret based on just trying to conform to what they think the world wants them to be.
And it's not healthy. It's not healthy. So, what you got to say about this, Brett?
I think that there should be a separation of church and state. I mean, honestly, I mean, if you believe in religious counseling, if you're over 18, if that's what you want, cool. But if you're a minor, you shouldn't be forced into conversion therapy. And I agree that this whole thing can make people go to doctors or psychologists who have unhealthy views. It's just like people saying, oh, you have COVID, oh, take ivermectin. Or oh, what is that guy saying now? Oh, you have the measles, take cod liver oil. Like these are not cures. You can't change somebody. If a person is LGBTQ, that's who they are. And we shouldn't change anybody. We should love and support everybody. That's the way I see it. I know that, I'm younger and probably very liberal, but I don't get what the problem is. I'll never understand what the problem is.
Me either. What you got, Pedro?
Um, yeah, Bridge right. Search church and state need to be separate. Um, if the way they opening the door first is this, and that opens up the door for more, you know. I think the goal of some people in this administration is to to push more Christianity, make it teached in school, with Bibles in school. Um, they have said the statement that the country has moved away from Christianity and it's going downhill, but honestly, 70% or 60% of the country is some type of religion, you know? So I believe it's just opening the door to step in and actually tell us what how we behave, what not to do, It's not a freedom no more. It's a freedom if less unless they tell you, yeah, that's your freedom. It's not freedom of being the person you want to be, feel the way you want to feel. They always want to impose, even uh with the taking back about the abortion things. It's not about giving freedom, it's actually telling people what to do. It's stifling freedom, you know.
Right. Well, I mean, again, one of the elements of the First Amendment is freedom of religion. So within that, that means you can believe in whatever God you want to believe in, number one, or you can choose not to believe in any of them. That's your choice. You know what I'm saying? So, and then even within the Christian Bible, can I tell you where things are in there? No, I can't. But I do know that I read it in there. To thine own self be true.
Yes.
Okay. And if you are letting somebody tell you that what you're feeling within yourself is not true, then they're teaching you to lie to yourself. And that's not healthy. That's
I
just not
agree.
healthy. So, I mean, again, I mean, I know it's a touchy subject or whatever for a lot of people, but again, you know, people want you to live life the way they want to live life. That's why, we're supposed to have separation of church and state. You know what I'm saying? Because of course Christians want you to live this way. Baptists want you to live this way. Buddhists want you to live this way. Whatever religion, they all have their own way, of living, right? And if they all had the power over the rest of the country, then they would impose that upon all of us. And then, bottom line, that takes away our freedom of religion, you know. So, I mean, again, I think they need to do away with it. I need to, I would say, even like what Brittany touched on and the article touched on, freedom of speech.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah, I get where it's kind of freedom of speech, but again, you don't touch on this topic within your therapy sessions. You can say what you want to say once you leave the office, right?
Hmm.
Now,
Right.
let's go even with doctors. No, you cannot tell somebody to go take some what was it, some sort of a horse medicine they was trying to get people to go. They was going to all the farm supplies and
Yeah, it was animal.
Ivermectin, and that's for harm. You give it to your livestock, your dogs,
yeah,
To
your pets, so
deworm.
they don't get
Right.
heartworm.
Yeah,
yeah, no,
but
you don't tell nobody no stuff like that, man. Come on now.
yeah, and
So my point being, and I'll leave it
hmm
alone. I'm done. When it comes to telling things that may bring them harm, whether it's this conversion therapy, making people have thoughts of maybe hurting themselves, or whether you're telling them to go take this crazy animal veterinary medicine, you know what I'm saying, that could possibly bring your body harm. I think you should be held accountable for that. That should be malpractice.
yeah,
Agree.
and to what they were saying about the Supreme Court, they are going to make the decision. Ed, I didn't hear the
Yeah,
beginning of the articles. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
the Supreme Court's going to make the decision.
okay,
yeah, they're
so
hearing they're hearing the case right now.
In
okay,
Colorado.
and this is how we would know if we have like an impartial court, meaning that they, well, not impartial, but they leaning
Well,
towards
Pedro,
their
let's go here.
beliefs
First
instead
off
of
is
the.
going. First off is going to the Supreme Court in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now,
Right.
depending on whether it's they move forward with it or deny it, there's always opportunity for appeal, and then it goes to the Supreme Court. Which we know is was it 6-3
Right.
conservative.
Right.
So
Bias.
who knows what's going to happen if it goes that far.
Yeah, and we
So
know from the Supreme Court and some of their decisions, they lean a certain way, and they they judge with their belief instead of some, you know, um
Rule of law.
reading the Constitution and the law.
Right.
That's
Right.
right.
You know.
So, all right. Well, let's move on to the next one. So, Pedro, he can drop a couple of promos on us, and then we'll get into the next one.
If you'd like to know more about Blind United, you can visit our website at blindunited.org. You can email us at info@blindunited.org. You can call us at 909-846-8825. You can follow us on Instagram at Blind United Interest Groups. You can follow us on X at Blind United 22. You can watch our YouTube channel, Blind United. You could join our Facebook group, Blind United Interest Groups, or you can follow our Facebook page, Blind United. Did you know that people in third world countries do not have access to canes? The You Cane Give initiative gives canes to people all over the world who cannot get canes. The You Cane Give initiative not only goes to these countries and gives people canes, but they give people canes and a digital recorder that is solar powered that has instructions on how to use the cane and instructions on how to repair the cane. The You Cane Give initiative is a very worthy cause, giving canes to blind people all over the world. If you have a cane that you're no longer using, or a cane that's broken or bent, you can go to youcanegive.org and get a shipping label, and you can ship your cane to Jimmy in Tennessee, and he will refurbish it and give your cane to a blind person in a third world country. That website again is youcanegive.org.
So, a little quick note on that one. When everybody's out there walking around with their canes today or whatever, think about somebody, in another part of the world that don't have that cane, and, how much it helps you and how, disadvantaged they are by not having one. So, on that note, Britt, what's going on there in the comments?
Monica said good morning and have a terrific Tuesday. Katie said good morning, and she said that what did Katie say? She said a lot. She said that that counselors should not be biased, and she also said that churches should uplift and support families, and that her pastor is gay. And we agree with you, Katie.
Well, certainly. Anything
Good
else?
morning.
No, that's it.
Okay. All right. Well, this next one is, with all the discussion around DEI, there was an order put out to the Air Force, and I don't know. We'll talk about it on the other side of whether this is, DEI or trying to erase history.
Coffee Time Crew. A recent decision by the U.S. Air Force to remove training videos featuring the Tuskegee Airmen and Women Air Force Service Pilots, WASPs, has ignited controversy and raised serious questions about how we approach diversity, equity, and inclusion. DI in today's military. Let's break down what happened and why it matters. The background. In alignment with an executive order from President Donald Trump to roll back federal DI initiatives, the Air Force withdrew several educational materials, including videos honoring the Tuskegee Airmen, the first Black military pilots in U.S. history who broke racial barriers during World War II, and inclusion. DI into the WASPs, a courageous group of female pilots who flew military aircraft in non-combat roles to free up male pilots for combat missions. These videos were part of training modules meant to highlight the historic contributions of underrepresented groups in the U.S. military. The public response. The decision to remove the videos was met with immediate backlash from historians, veterans, and leaders across the political spectrum. Critics argue that the move erases vital historical contributions made by marginalized groups, misunderstands DI, which is meant to celebrate and educate about the rich diversity that shapes American institutions, undermines morale by sending the wrong message about whose stories are worth telling. Reinstatement after outcry. After public pressure and bipartisan, the Air Force reversed course and reinstated the course featuring the Tuskegee Airmen video. However, discussions continue around the WASP training materials, and broader questions remain about how military training should reflect our diverse national history. Why this matters? Removing these materials wasn't just about cutting a video. It sent a message that the historic struggles and achievements of marginalized service members are somehow controversial or expendable. The Tuskegee Airmen and WASPs didn't just serve, they paved the way for future generations by challenging systemic barriers. Their legacy is more than just historical, it's inspirational. And here's the thing, honoring their contributions doesn't require a political stance. It requires respect for the truth and a commitment to telling the full story of American service and sacrifice. What's the bigger picture? This incident highlights a broader tension. How do we balance policy shifts with the need to preserve educational content that reflects the real and diverse fabric of American history? If DI initiatives are meant to ensure that all voices are heard, then silencing stories like those of the Tuskegee Airmen and the WASPs does the opposite. What do you think? Should the military continue highlighting the contributions of marginalized groups in training and education materials? How do we protect historical integrity while navigating shifting political directives? Join the conversation and share your thoughts. Now back to the coffee time crew.
So, just, again, my opinion, I think this was actually somewhat of an attempt to erase history. I mean, again, that's part of what's going on as well. They want to take a lot of this, these historical facts out of our history books and in our schools and stuff like that. They want to make you think that, that a certain group of people did all this on their own when they didn't, I mean, it was actually on the backs of a lot of different immigrant communities, throughout history anyway, right? So let me go here. Something else, I think there's a big misunderstanding when it comes to DEI. DEI is not a program where someone of less qualifications would get a job. It's more about ensuring that people of equal qualifications or higher qualifications than other groups get the job, not based on their race, sexual orientation, or whatever the case may be, right? This is not an affirmative action thing. An affirmative action thing, they actually had a quota where, okay, you had to bring in so many minorities. You had to bring, in so many of this, so many of that, right? DEI is not that. DEI is just something to ensure that we all, are
Get a fair
get
chance.
treated. We all get a fair chance. That's all it is. I mean, if let's just go with like NASCAR. If you can drive a car at 100 miles an hour and I can drive a car, at 120, well then, I'm not saying you shouldn't get the job, but I'm more qualified than you because I can drive faster than you.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. And
you
and
know.
and and it was presented to us because the boardrooms were not looking like their workforce, so it was made for to include people of color with qualifications to be in those boardrooms. When we let corporations run wild, sometimes they will hire their cousin Billy to come in instead of the qualified person. And also, when it comes to these videos and these instruction videos, DEI shouldn't be mentioned because it's a whole different topic, right? There's a whole different way DEI is used, and stuff, for the administration that's in right now to have something and tell the Air Force uh, to have something against these people that did achievements and just to put them away and put them to the side tells you the type of administration this is because to use the umbrella of DEI to get some educational material out of the Air Force is kind of pushing it. You know what I mean? It's not hiring or anything like that. This is instruction material. It's good to know the history, just like how NASA had the black ladies that they were human computers, you know? And it's a history within our country that story needs to be told to motivate our youth, you know? Could be
Agree.
yellow, black, blue, or red.
Hmm.
It
I mean,
motivates people.
just like in the article, you had these women that started flying basically cargo planes
Mm,
delivering mail to free up the, the per se white male pilots, right?
mm-hmm.
Right.
So
That's
that they
right.
could go help in the war effort, you know. And again, it's just DEI is just about making sure everybody's represented. To touch on what Pedro said, you got all of these diverse folks that are working in your plants and your factories and whatever, right? But if those people are not, represented in the boardroom, then the conversation goes to, stays on, well, how can we, well, it could easily go to how do we take advantage of these minorities,
Right. That's
and so
right.
on and so forth. So again, this is not an affirmative action thing. Even with a lot of these stores, pulling, the DEI out of their thing, right? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
they were never forced to put black products in their store. They were never forced to, have these vending contracts with these black manufacturers or whatever like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, bottom line, if you want to sell to the, the black community, Hispanic community, whatever, then you want to have their products in your store.
Yes, yes.
That's right.
Also too, it's a market. That's why they do have those products there because there is a market. But when it comes to a market that the board members are out of touch and they don't have someone of color or that means they're kind of disconnected from that market even though they're pushing those products. They might not even know what type of products to push or which ones are good and things like that. They don't have a
Right,
perspective on that angle, but they will put that we support the black community, even though they want to take away DEIs, they want to go a different direction. And I haven't seen where this affects them. Their bottom line is still going up and up and up. Even though right now the markets are low and crashing because of I guess the leadership. I don't like to call him a leader, but the president right now being so left right, don't even know what he's gonna do, imposing tariffs, taking tariffs, you know. So I don't
well, I
know.
And
mean, I get it, I get it. Go ahead, Carol, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and minorities, they support a lot of these companies, and you just
Hmm.
can't, take history away. I mean, it's like someone telling me there's a bestseller out there, and oh, I can't wait to go to get this book. And when I open it, that chapter that I'm expecting to really tell me everything is missing. You can't
Mm,
just take it away as if it's not there.
mm-hmm.
I think we
Yeah,
all should be exposed to everything, like you were saying, Pedro and Ed, and I mean, it inspires youth to see
yeah,
that, oh, we can do this. When mother said I could be a doctor or an astronaut or
mm-hmm.
uh you know I can, because
Yeah,
I see that others have done this decades ago. So
yeah.
why can't I follow in those same footsteps? And
You're
if
right,
you
Right.
take
Carol.
that away, it lets me know that, oh, well, this is only for that person, I have to do this.
Yeah. And
Right.
Ed, um, remember a good example is when some of these fires happen or construction needs to happen, the contracts were going to white white companies, the people that were managing, and black owned construction companies were not getting these state contracts. I remember seeing this in the news that they were going to allow them to come in and get some of these contracts. I know this might not have to do with DEI or anything, but there is an example right there of in our society. Sometimes the it leans to a certain way, you
Well, that
know.
goes into, the history, of our country as well in what they call redlining, blocking minority businesses from
Hmm.
certain sectors. Oh,
Right.
okay, no, you can't get a contract to build nothing in Beverly Hills, but you can go over there in South Central and build all you want to.
Right.
You
And a lot
Hmm.
know,
of the inventions, were made by minorities, but they never got credit for them because a lot of the stuff was stolen. You know.
well, again, going back to me saying that, I believe this is a move to erase history, right?
Right.
I don't want to send my kids to school, being my kids are good, they're biracial, right?
Right.
But my point being, I don't want them to go to school and not be able to read about, the where other minority groups have contributed to the growth of this country. You know what I'm
Agree.
saying? They
Agree.
they need to know that. I mean, because again, if we sit there and tell them, oh well, you can be an astronaut, you can be a doctor, you can be a surgeon, you can be an engineer, all of these great things, right?
Right.
But yet they don't see that in their history books, then they don't believe it.
Agree.
They don't believe it. Then I mean, if we tell them that and they can go back and basically fact check, I guess if you want to call it that, right, and see it in history where people have done this, of people of color, right? Then
Right.
they say, okay, yeah, I can do this too.
Right.
Hmm. Hmm.
I
And
can be
also,
that. I can be
hmm
a George Washington Carver. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. That's
hmm
right.
All of these various things. I mean, I just heard something the other day where Canada was laying claim to inventing peanut butter. No, George
No.
Washington Carver
Carver invited. He sure did.
invented
He
peanut
invented it.
butter.
Yes, he
hmm
did.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Also, just like how some people get upset that an African American is playing a role in a movie that is used to be a character, but to some people they're like, oh, it's a white character. Why do some a person of color have to play this? Why you can't stick to the original? You know, we could also turn that around and say, well, for some movies, like when it comes to Middle Eastern movies and Roman movies and all that, when you see someone with blonde hair, blue eyes, that is not what
Not
was
accurate.
depicted. Yeah, that is not accurate. So let's keep it accurate if y'all wanna do that. Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, look at how much trouble Lawrence Fishburne got by playing Othello.
Hmm.
Yeah,
A
that's
Shakespeare
true.
play. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
true.
I mean, come
Hmm.
on, man, leave that stuff alone. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. We're not looking at the movie for the actual historical facts. We're looking for, the entertainment value of it. Who's the best actor?
That's
Who's
right.
the best one to perform this part? You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So anyway, we ain't heard from you on this, Britt. What you got on this topic?
A lot. I have a
Go
lot.
for it. Go for it, baby.
Well, okay. First, I want to say that people who believe a certain thing, y'all need a dictionary. Diversity, equity, and inclusion and woke do not mean what you think they mean. They do not mean, oh, people of color and women are taking our jobs. No, it just means that the best person for the job is getting the job. And just because I'm black doesn't mean, oh, I'm going to get a job. It means that the most qualified for that job. Diversity, equity, inclusion just includes everybody. It's maternity leave for moms. It's maternity leave for, men. It's, the deaf having closed captions. It's blind people having audio description. That's all it is. It's that everybody gets an equal opportunity
to do things. That's all it is. And I think that make America great again. I think that they just want America to go back to when things were segregated, when people weren't treated equally, when disabled people were in, asylums. I think that's what they want to go back to. And that's the
I
way I
think
feel
Brittany
about
said it
it.
all. I
The
think.
Brittany did.
1890s,
Agree,
the Gilded
Brittany.
Age. I heard of the Gilded Age.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
I think Brittany said it all right there, and
she
we're at
did.
that point. So
She did.
let's go ahead and get us a couple more promos, and then we'll get into our last article.
Do you need to talk? Are you struggling with your mental health? Are you struggling with substance abuse issues? Call the Orange County NAMI Warm Line. That number is 877-910-9276. That number again is 877-910-9276.
Did you know Blind United offers free training in assistive technology? We call them interest groups. We offer training in JAWS, NVDA, iPhone, iPad, as well as Meta Ray-Bans. We also have groups like support group, cooking groups, and crafting groups. There are also groups for entertainment like movie night and RS game night. For more information about all the interest groups that we offer, just email us at info@blindunited.org or visit our Facebook group, Blind United Interest Group. We would love to have you be part of the Blind United crew. All right. Well, before we get in the next one, Britt, where we at with the comments, sweetie?
Tisha said, good morning. And Monica said that, Carol, you need to do a commercial next, and I agree. And Katie said that all service members need to be recognized for their accomplishments, and we agree with you, Katie. Did you know the guy that they have, Pete Hegseth, he wants women to not be in the military? Did y'all know that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And good morning, Tish, and everyone else as well.
Good morning.
I agree, Monica. We're going to try to make that happen, baby. So this next one, I guess it kind of, this one here kind of, I knew this was coming. But anyway, let's run this one and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
Hey, Coffee Time crew. As marijuana legalization expands across the United States, a new challenge is racing into focus. How do we know if someone is driving while high? Unlike alcohol, detecting cannabis impairment isn't straightforward, and states are scrambling to find reliable tools to keep roads safe without overstepping boundaries. Driving while high, a complicated puzzle. Police departments around the country are testing new technologies to determine whether drivers are under the influence of THC, the compound in cannabis that causes a high. But unlike alcohol, where a breathalyzer provides a clear measure of impairment, marijuana doesn't work the same way. Take Minnesota, for example. Over the past year, state troopers tested a new saliva analyzer that resembles a Keurig machine, but instead of brewing coffee, it detects THC in saliva. Officers used it in real-time roadside stops as part of a pilot program whose results are now being reviewed by lawmakers. Minnesota isn't alone. States like Alabama, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, Colorado, Vermont, and Illinois are trying various methods, from saliva tests and goggles that monitor eye movement, to cognitive apps and even THC breathalyzers still in development. The trouble with THC testing. One major issue? THC lingers. A person could test positive hours, or even days, after using cannabis, even if they're no longer impaired. Can we detect THC? Yes, says Cinnamon Bidwell, a neuroscience professor at the University of Colorado Boulder. But does that mean someone is actively impaired? The data aren't there yet. Unlike alcohol, where a breath alcohol level correlates closely with brain impairment, THC detection doesn't tell us how high someone is. or if they're high at all when they're pulled over. The risk of overpunishment. Experts warn that until better standards are in place, people could be penalized simply for being cannabis users, not for driving under the influence. That's a real concern, especially in states where marijuana is legal and widely used. To tackle this, some states are shifting focus to training officers to spot signs of impairment without relying solely on tests. In Colorado, police even conduct green labs where volunteers get high in front of officers so they can practice identifying impairment symptoms. But as Jordan Wellington, a cannabis policy expert, points out, relying too much on human judgment introduces a subjective element. No human being does their job perfectly 1,000 times, he says. And that subjectivity opens the door to errors, bias, and inconsistency. Why it matters. With more Americans using cannabis and more using it before driving, states must strike a careful balance. They need tools that protect public safety, but they also need evidence-based policies that don't unfairly penalize lawful behavior. It's a tough question. How do we determine if someone is too high to drive without reliable tools? And until science catches up, how do we ensure the law is fair, not just firm? What do you think? Should states adopt roadside THC testing despite its flaws? What's the right balance between protecting drivers and respecting legal cannabis use? And how should officers be trained to spot cannabis impairment in real time? Join the conversation and share your thoughts. Now back to the coffee time crew.
Well, this one kind of, hits home. Number one, I'm grateful that I don't have to worry about it no more because I ain't getting ready to be driving no cars anytime soon or operating any heavy equipment. But, back when I was still driving and so on and so forth, I mean, again, maybe I'm being delusional. I don't know. I've never had an incident that I could honestly contribute to me being under the influence of cannabis. It just never happened. I mean, I've been pulled over when I was high, and I don't know, it's something about THC that where, you get stopped or, something, urgent happens, right? Okay. It's almost like the high goes away. You deal with the situation, and then when you're able to relax, the high comes back. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just my experience. I don't know. But again, until they can actually pinpoint the last time somebody used cannabis, they're not going to come up with a positive testing method, right? I think maybe they need to do a study where, maybe, all of these different things and tools that they're working on, okay, so you got somebody just like you got them, getting high in front of the police to see how you act or whatever, right? But, in a more clinical setting where,
Yeah.
Okay, I get high, you do a breathalyzer, you do a saliva, you do whatever, right? And then, I mean, for those of us that smoke cannabis, it generally only lasts, a few hours, depending on the quality of the cannabis you're using, But my point being, you come back either later that day, maybe the next day, and you perform those same tests and you see if any of those levels have changed. You follow what I'm saying? You
Mm-hmm.
gotta
Yeah.
be able to pinpoint the last time cannabis was used in order to be able to charge somebody with driving under the influence of cannabis. It's just that simple.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. They have to be an accurate test. Also about the types of different variables within without like marijuana, right? You have like sativa and indica. Indica hits you more harder, and the more potent it is, you will react slightly slow, Um, so different strain, different effects. So they have to come up with a test. Plus, I do know people that rather not smoke and drive first and then do what they want. You know what I mean? But you do have some folks that might take a little puff here and there, a little puff. Then you have folks that will smoke a lot and then want to drive, you know. So sometimes as an individual, you need to know and not to drive during those times or get high after. Um because there is some potent marijuana if you digest it, smoke it, or even if it's a pin or a dab, it still will impair you, just like how drinking impairs you. Um, Marijuana impairs you a certain way, also.
Well, and I agree that you do get impaired, but I will not ever agree that it impairs you to the level that alcohol
Oh
does.
no, it
Oh
does not.
no. Oh
No, it
no,
doesn't.
Okay,
definitely does not. Mm-mm.
again, and then myself personally, right? What Pedro brought up, indica and sativa, right? So, I mean, during the day, I mean, when I was managing a big apartment complex or whatever, I would do the sativa because the sativa was more of a motivator. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like it gave
Right.
me energy, and it's like drinking a Red Bull. And
Mm-hmm.
I,
Mm-hmm.
smoke me some, and then I go and do my work, whatever. Lunchtime roll around, I smoke me a little bit more and go do the rest of the afternoon, and in the evening after dinner, whatever. Then I would do some indica, and now I just chill out and relax for the rest of the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I
Right.
like to do the same, and now with the industry, how it's been rolling out, man, you could get down to the effect, the taste. Um, how would you feel? Would you feel awake, motivated, or are you gonna feel sleepy or get hungry? They have this almost down to a T, you know?
Right, right,
I
right,
agree. And I think a lot of I don't think that they can pinpoint it based. I think most of the people that are stopped now, it's not based on the reactions of what they're doing with their vehicle. It's based on the smell. They smell it. So they pull them over knowing they're high, but it doesn't mean that they were driving illegally or anything like that. They just pull them over because they smell it. And I'm not saying that it doesn't affect everybody different. When I was visual, I drove high, but I was driving the speed limit, doing my thing. In fact, it made me feel like I could see better and react better, you know. But I think, most people are just being pulled over now because the cops smell it and they believe they have a big quantity of it, and that's an arrest that they can make.
Well, I mean, and again, whether you were smoking it or basically just transporting it, bottom line, you're going to smell it. It's
Of
the
course.
odors in the car,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
again, just because you can smell it, don't mean I got 10 pounds in the trunk. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Also, also, there's been cases where officers use that they smell marijuana to get, to uh pursue a arrest, even though they didn't smell marijuana. It's been documented. I seen a video where a young man was like, "Oh, repeat that again. You said you stopped me because I didn't completely stop over there, and now you're saying you smell what?" And
Mm.
you know, and then the guy was noting everything down, you know,
Right.
and
Right.
to
Well,
take
again, a lot
court.
of times they'll use it as a form of probable cause,
Mm.
to per se, search the vehicle or whatever, and nowadays I've seen videos where, well, I don't consent to you searching my vehicle, and then they'll bring a dog out,
Right. Right.
and they'll have a dog go around the car and whatever, whatever. But again, bottom line, and the majority of, well, I don't know if it's a majority of the states yet, but bottom line is legal in a lot of different states. Is showing promise for doing a lot of good things.
Yes.
Is also, in my opinion anyway, as I said a minute ago, yes, you do reach a level of impairment, but definitely not to the level of alcohol, what alcohol does to you, right?
Right.
So, I mean, again, let's try to stay, change the with the stereotypical opinion about people that smoke cannabis. Again, I mean, I'm 67 years old, man. I mean, I drove truck. I worked in, I did a lot of different stuff where I had to hand power tools. Again, when I was driving truck, I mean, I'm being honest. I'm in my truck. I'm rolling down the freeway. So, yeah, I'm smoking. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing my thing. I'm not bothering nobody. I ain't never wrecked nothing. I
Right.
ain't never ran over a bunch of people. None of that kind of stuff. And then, like I said, the few times that I have been stopped and I knew I was under the influence of cannabis, I don't know, for whatever reason, I was able to just come all the way back to my senses, deal with that situation, get my little speeding ticket, left turn ticket, illegal lane change ticket, whatever ticket they could figure out, right, that they wanted to give me. And then as soon as they bounce, I'm good. I'm high again. And if I wasn't, guess what? I'd reach in my pocket and pull out another joint and fire it up.
But you are
So
right. That does happen when you get into a situation that is panicky or what have you. You go back to your senses, and then once that's over, you do get high again without sometimes even firing it back up. So you're right, Ed. That does happen. It's happened to
you
me.
know, so what you got on it, Britt? I mean, I know you got an opinion, even though I know you don't smoke. Well, yeah, I can't say that because I done seen you buy a few pens.
I I just think that this is another way to control people, and for whatever reason, I don't think that a lot of these states want to legalize marijuana. I think that marijuana honestly is, or weed, whatever you want to call it, broccoli. I think that it's better for you than alcohol. And if we're going to legalize alcohol, if we're going to legalize nicotine, we might as well just legalize weed. But I think that there's a lot of negative stereotypes that are going to prevent that from happening. And I just think that this is just a way to arrest people or give people tickets or punish people. I mean, that's the way I see it.
Right, right, right.
Agree. Agree.
I agree. I agree. And then again, let's look at it from a medical standpoint, right? Look at the damage that alcohol does to your body.
True.
Okay. Now, what does cannabis do to your body?
Hmm.
Okay. I mean, they're showing statistics where, it can help prevent cancer, right? They use it for medical treatment in glaucoma.
Yeah.
Seizures. And seizures. I remember back in the day, I knew people that were taking it for their asthma.
Right.
So I mean, again,
Pain management.
Yeah, pain management. All of these various things. I mean, so you got one
seizures,
legal substance being alcohol that's literally doing harm to the body.
Right.
But yet now we got a bunch of people that are actually, resisting, cannabis, but they can't point at anything that cannabis is doing that's bringing harm to our bodies.
That is true.
And alcohol is actually a poison. That's why we get those effects from it.
So before we bounce, Brittany, we got any final comments in there, sweetie?
No, we don't. But like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell, tell a friend, all that.
Follow, all that stuff. Whatever you can do on whatever platform you happen to be checking us out on, please do whatever you can do on that platform. It really, really does help. So on that note, I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their Tuesday. And hey, we'll be back again tomorrow. Oh, another quick note. I said it last week. I didn't say it yet this week, but I'm saying it now. There will be no coffee time Thursday and Friday of this week. All of us, except for Carol, because she's out of the state, will be attending the CSUN conference in Anaheim. So we'll be trying to go over there and see if we can line up a few interviews and get some more content, for what we do on Blind United. So on that note, just remember that as we move forward in the week, and we will see everyone tomorrow, being the last day of coffee time for this week. So everybody enjoy the rest of your day.